Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to review the Los Gatos, California real estate market analysis for August of 2009. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California. I'm also a member of the National Association of Realtors and a certified ePro. And I'm also the president and CEO of Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services, serving all of Silicon Valley and sponsoring this market analysis. Now, if you'd like to get more information on how to contact me or get access to a fantastic multiple listing service search tool or podcasts that I do on a weekly basis, you can find all of those at www.soldbyrobert.com. You can also find them on iTunes. If you prefer to contact me via email, you can send those to robert@soldbyrobert.com. And if you'd like to call me directly by phone, just dial 408-852-0525. If you'd prefer to use an online chat software like AOL Instant Messenger, Google Talk, or Yahoo IM, feel free to contact me via the screen name The Rebel Broker. And if you're a Skype user, you can contact me with the screen name Rebel Broker. Now, referrals are always appreciated. If you or anyone you know is interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate in Silicon Valley, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'll help you any way I can. But if you're not, if you're just shopping for real estate anywhere in the United States and you're looking for just the right agent to fill your needs, give me a call. I can jump through the hoops to find the right agent for you. I just need to know whether you're a buyer, seller, or an investor, and maybe a few more details about your situation, and then I can find the perfect agent for you no matter where you are in the United States. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the supply and demand numbers for Los Gatos for August of 2009. Now, this first set of numbers we're looking at are the inventory numbers, and we can see those have been steadily increasing since 2007. Now, the inventory numbers when compared to last year are up 8.28%. That's 13 more homes in the inventory than in the same time in 2008. That gives us a grand total of 170 homes currently in inventory. And this is pretty typical for the county in general to see this sort of increase in inventory. The good news is that it's not increasing at the same rate as it did between 2007 and 2008. You can see it was a pretty substantial jump, at least about a 40% increase between 2007 and 2008. So at least the amount that it's changing has changed. Now, as far as new listings are concerned, we can see that that's actually gone down a little bit since last year, and that's actually good news. If we can sort of get control of the number of folks who add their homes to the inventory, of course, that will affect the overall inventory. Now, new listings were down 11.32% from the same time last year. That's 6 fewer homes listed in the month of August in 2009 than in the month of August in 2008. That gives us a grand total of 47 homes that were listed in the month of August of 2009. As far as sales are concerned, that's actually some pretty good news when compared to last year. Not a dramatic increase, but at least we did see it heading in the right direction. Sales increased 13.64% in Los Gatos. That was 3 more homes sold in Los Gatos in August of 2009 than at the same time last year. That was a grand total of 25 homes sold. Now, if we do a sort of comparison between the inventory numbers and the sold numbers, that gives us some interesting numbers to think about. If you take the total inventory and divide it by the sales numbers, you'll find that comes to 6.8. And what that tells us is that if the inventory numbers and the sales numbers were to freeze as they are right now, it would take almost 7 months to sell off all the inventory we currently have on hand. Now, another way of thinking of this is if you're a seller, it's sort of a competition index. Now, the higher this number is, the more difficult it is for sellers to get their homes sold, but the more choice buyers have. And the lower this number goes, the quicker sellers can get their home sold, and the tougher it is for buyers to get the home that they want because of competition. Now, what this number means is that for every home that sells, there's nearly 7 homes on the market trying to get sold. So that gives buyers an awful lot of homes to choose from, which clearly indicates that we're in a buyer's market right now for Los Gatos. What else is interesting about this number is that it also indicates that that we're at a high point, right? Anything above about 4 is when you start to see a shift. 4 seems to be right about the balance point. You're in a fairly balanced market if you're anywhere from about 3.5 to 4.5. That seems to be a pretty healthy place for this balance to be between homes that are selling and homes that are in inventory. Now, what's interesting is this number has actually gone up when compared to last month. Last month it was at 6.3. And we're really underperforming the county on average. The county was at 3.62 this month, so about 3.5 months worth of inventory on hands, or about for every home that's sold, there were about 3 homes on the market trying to get sold. So Los Gatos was really underperforming the county in general. Last month, the county was at 3.01. So it had improved. It had been better the previous month, just as Los Gatos had been. Now let's go ahead and take a look at these same numbers for past months instead of looking just at the month of August and past years. We're now looking all the way back to April of 2008. First thing we see here are the inventory numbers, and we can see it's a pretty tough trend to deny. Inventory numbers are on their way up. We didn't even see a dramatic drop in the winter months as we would normally expect. We got the typical winter drop, but it wasn't as pronounced as we often see. You can see that in December, we saw the numbers drop to their lowest point, and then a pretty good recovery in January and February right into March. That shows an awful lot of folks not wanting to take their homes off of the market. Now, between July and August of 2009, we saw inventory numbers drop 10.5%. That was 19 fewer homes in the market. That's actually good news. We would expect that right around this time of year, though, because keep in mind that the homes that show up as sold in August actually probably went into escrow in July. So you're seeing a lot of the activity that came out in July affected the overall inventory. But the good news is that homes were not added to the market at a rate that sort of overwhelmed that and kept those inventory numbers high. Now, next, let's take a look at the listed numbers. Now, this is the number of homes that were added to the inventory. We can see that over the course of the year, we've had a steady decline in this number. That's also good news. We also get the typical dip during the winter months. And we can see that we're at a lower point now. It started off fairly high once we got out of winter back in March, and then it dropped pretty substantially. Then dropped a little more, then dropped a little more. We got a little bit of a boost in July as a few folks jumped in late into the marketplace to get their homes listed. And then we saw, of course, this month it's more of a continuing decline when compared to really the months around it. Now, do we learn anything from last year relating to this? We saw fairly similar performance. What's interesting about last year is there was really no ramp up. April, May, June, July, all really, really flat. And then August, we started to see a drop. So it's fairly similar to last year. What will we see in the coming months? Well, it looks like we may see increases if last year is any indicator. I'm not sure that that's something that we should particularly bet on. We'll see how things go. But with the market the way it is right now in Los Gatos, it wouldn't surprise me. Last year, things were a little bit more in flux. People were a little bit more concerned. Things are pretty ironed out now as far as knowing that the market's in a little bit more trouble. So I don't know if we'll see a dramatic increase after August on the number of homes that get listed, but we'll review those numbers when the time comes. Now, the number of homes that were listed in August compared to July declined 34.72%, 25 fewer homes listed in August of 2009 than July of 2009. And finally, let's take a look at those sales numbers. We've actually had a little bit of a decline when compared month to month. And if we look back to August, we're performing better, obviously, than we did last year, with fairly similar trends. You can see that back in May of last year, things were better in May of last year than May of this year. But we do see that we'd have increases in June and July coming right up to August with a little bit of a decline there, and then a little bit of a boost in September, and then a decline as we headed into the winter months. Now, you'd expect a decline in sales as we head into those winter months, but we should expect at least one more decent month of sales here in Los Gatos. Now, the sales numbers for Los Gatos for August of 2009 when compared to July, just from month to month, we saw a decline of 16.67%. That was 5 fewer homes sold in Los Gatos in August than in July. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the short sale and foreclosure data for Los Gatos. We can see that short sales made up 8%, foreclosures made up 4%, and conventional sales made up 88% of the marketplace here in Los Gatos. That's very healthy. There are some other areas that are doing a little bit better, but really this is typical, I think, for Los Gatos. We don't see a lot of short sales and foreclosures in this market, and that may explain to some degree why we don't get as much activity here as some other areas. Simply because short sales and foreclosures for a while have been what's drawing the most attention from buyers. So they're tending to gravitate towards markets where they have some short sales and foreclosures to choose from. But then you see areas like Almaden Valley that are bucking that trend that also have very low short sales and foreclosure properties out there, but are still seeing pretty robust sales and lower inventories than Los Gatos. When we compare this to last month, we can see that short sales are up when compared to last month by 1%. And last month we had no foreclosures, so foreclosures are up. And conventional sales actually made up the vast majority of the market at 93%. So overall, if you just group the short sales and foreclosures into one category, we saw that sort of bite into the conventional sales a bit for this particular month. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the home prices over past years. Again, this is just the month of August going month to month. Just the month of August going year to year all the way back to 1999. And you can see we've had a pretty dramatic drop. I think it's interesting to note the very minor price drop in 2008. I think for a while folks in Los Gatos weren't really taking the hint that the market values were really dropping all over the county. And so I think that may have delayed some sales as folks had to sort of realize that they needed to bring their prices down in order to move them. Prices have dropped by 26.55%. That is a dollar change of $443,359. Now, the average home price in Los Gatos was $1,226,492. And the median was down by 24.17%. That was a dollar change of $335,975, and the median price was at $1,054,000. And basically, what the median is showing us is that the more homes were selling below the average price than above the average price. When you establish what the median price is, that basically gives you the middle point for the number of homes that sold. So if 100 homes sold in a particular month, the median tells you that half of them sold below that amount and half of them sold above that amount. So that way you know sort of where things are grouped. So instead of looking at this as a tool to tell you what your house should be priced or what your home is worth in the market, you should think of it more as where is the activity happening. You can see there was a very big, in 2008, a bigger difference between the median and the average. You can see also that in 2007, the median was above the average. So there were actually more homes selling above the average price than below it. As far as the highest priced home in Los Gatos, that was on Shannon Road, and that home sold for $2,811,300. Its original list price was $3,400,000. And it was on the market for 35 days. At least that's the numbers that will be reported to the multiple listing service. And those will be the statistics that end up being reported in all of the popular magazines and online resources that tell you how the market is doing. Now, this property is actually kind of an interesting one to really demonstrate a problem with how numbers get reported, because the reality is that home was not on the market for 35 days. That property was actually on the market for over 180 days. And it didn't originally list for $3.4 million. It originally listed for $4,249,000. So basically, that property had to sell for about $1.5 million below asking price. It went off of the market for almost exactly 31 days. And when you see something like that happening, it's almost a given that was an intentional act on the part of the folks trying to sell that property to sort of disconnect the data link between the old listing and the new listing. Clearly, these folks were trying real hard to get this property sold. They couldn't make it happen, so they took it off of the market for long enough for if they had relisted it earlier than they did, it would have maintained the connection between the old asking price and the new asking price. What's interesting is that a realtor, when they look at these numbers, there is no disconnect. You can go and look at the history and see it. But when the data gets reported at the end of each month, it's going to report the more incorrect data I told you rather than the more correct data. The home had actually been listed originally on November 18th of 2008 and was originally listed for $4,249,900. And again, it was taken off of the market for 31 days. And this is why I like to do this show for you, because oftentimes I can point out these little tricks that go on with the statistics that very dramatically change all kinds of numbers. Now, here are the numbers that will be affected by this sort of numerical trickery in the MLS system. So first, the days on market will be affected. You'll get an artificially low number because the system is reporting that this home sold in only 35 days when it actually took 180 to 200 days to get that home sold. It's also going to report that the percentage below list price that sellers are having to take is actually much smaller than it is, because obviously we're not accounting for that original asking price of that was $1.5 million higher. And that's so when you start looking at your market analysis, if you decide to try and sell your home, Sometimes this data will be so incorrect because of these things that you'll believe that you'll be able to do something or have a certain asking price that isn't quite right, or have expectations of how long it's going to take to get a property sold. And I think that what this does is it undermines a lot of folks' ability to really accurately gauge how long it's going to take them to get their home sold and what price they should have selected for their home. And frankly, in reviewing the data for this, I was a little bit shocked that this property was ever listed at its original list price anyway. At the time that it was listed, clearly the market was indicating a lower price by a big chunk. So it's a little bit of a surprise. So that just reinforces the importance of you really make sure that you work with an agent who is giving you the straight dope on what's going on with your property, what the competition is, and what the price should be. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the home prices over past months. This is just going straight back to April now, so we're not doing just a year-to-year examination. We can see that the average price has steadily been heading down. On average, it's been going down. Again, it was about $1.2 million was the average price. Percentage price change between July and August was a decrease of 6.55%. That's $85,929 lower than it was the month before. The median price, as I said, was hovering right around $1,054,000, and that dropped 8.35% between July and August for a total dollar change of $96,000. And just to sort of give you an idea of the number of homes we're talking about here, 25 homes sold in Los Gatos in August of 2009. And we can see how the median price will often be a good indicator of what's going on. You can see some of these months where you have dramatic differences. For instance, April of 2008, one property that is sold at the very high end can sometimes skew that average price. So it's good to look sometimes individually at the properties involved just to determine what might really be going on. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the days to sell. We can see that the homes that sold on average took 111 days to get sold. Now, that's a pretty high number, and again, this is another one of those numbers you often want to take a closer look at because there's oftentimes for you specifically, there's a different story being told. Now, the change here that we see between 2008 and 2009, now remember, this is just the month of August going back to 1999. This has been a 54.17% increase in the number of days to get a home sold. That's 39 more days to get a home sold in August of 2009 than at the same time last year. Now, let's break this down into some smaller chunks so that it makes a little bit more sense for all of us. Now, the longest days on market was the lowest days on market was 5 days. The longest days on market was 399, and the next highest was 307. And what you'll see here is that the concentration of where these numbers are can sometimes tell a different story. Now, as I mentioned, no homes sold in 0 days. That would be homes that sold before they ever got entered into the multiple listing service. The number of homes that sold in the first week between 1 and 7 days after being listed, 2 homes fell into that category. 4 homes sold in 8 to 30 days, 8 homes sold in 31 to 90 days, 6 homes sold in 90 to 180 days, and 5 homes sold in 180 days or more. So definitely we're seeing a little bit more of a concentration at the high end of these properties. So it is taking in general longer for homes to get sold. But 20% of the homes that sold did so in 30 days or less. Now, last month it was 33% of the homes that sold in 30 days or less. So there's still a good chunk of the homes out there that are selling quickly. But what's happening is as the inventory grows in Los Gatos, what we are finding is that it's taking longer for many homes to get sold, simply because there aren't enough buyers out there to make it happen, and prices aren't low enough to draw in enough buyers to make it happen. So when homes do sell, oftentimes they've been on the market for an extremely long time, as we noted with the homes that sold in just shy of 400 days and another that sold in 307. So the reaction naturally is for a reduction in prices, and that's what we're going to talk about after we finish with days to sell. But for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at the trend since April, going all the way forward month to month up to the current month of August of 2009. Now you can see it's been a steady increase, and as the inventory increases, you're going to see this increase continuously, simply because of the phenomenon we just talked about, where properties are going to tend to take longer to get sold because there's so many of them out there. And oftentimes when you see an increase in sales, which we did see this month, you'll see a increase in days on market simply because you're now selling more homes out of the inventory than you were before. So you're necessarily selling homes that have been on the market longer. So you'll see a bump often when sales increase for a period of time. You'll see a bump in the days on market. And again, looking more closely at the numbers can often reveal that or make it very obvious. Now, as you can see, we've got quite a few properties spread out across Los Gatos that sold this month. No real areas of focused activity. It's actually kind of healthy to see this sort of thing where you're seeing activity sort of scattered all throughout the city. No real trends here to discuss. But I did want to give you one more opportunity to jot down any contact information that you might be interested in to use to get in contact with me. I won't go through and read all of these again because that's I've already done that, and this will just be a good opportunity for you all to sort of figure out whether or not you want to get in touch. Now, I do appreciate you all taking the time to listen to these presentations, and I look forward to talking to you all next time.